Path of Exile 2's early access will launch with considerably more endgame content than I think anyone really expected. The core endgame is split into what's known as endgame grinds. Each one has their own system for leveling them up and progressing, and each offers unique rewards and character power. The Trial of the Sekhemas is the successor to PoE1's Sanctum League. This mechanic is a type of Ascension Trial, which is first encountered in the campaign and will provide access to a character's Ascendancy unlock, but will also scale into endgame as one of the endgame grinds. To enter the trials, you'll need a coin containing the soul of a djinn. The Trial of the Sekhemas is essentially a roguelike minigame, with progressing rooms filled with different monsters and puzzles. A resource called Honor is used here, and taking damage will make you lose Honor. If you hit 0, you're kicked out of the trial. Rooms contain bronze, silver and gold keys similar to PoE1's Labyrinth, and these keys can be used at the end of the floor if you make it through. Sacred water is also found during these encounters, a currency that can be spent at a vendor during the trials. Just like in PoE1's Sanctum, at the end of each floor you'll fight a boss. The Altar of Ascendancy can be accessed via this mechanic, providing the option to choose your Ascendancy. Relics are items which are found as rewards and can be applied to the trials before entering, empowering your run with special modifiers. And unique relics will also exist, which alter the run in more drastic ways, such as making it so you must complete the entire run without being hit a single time, but you'll be rewarded handsomely for doing so. Jewels are a unique reward from this mechanic. They can be crafted, including crafting your own radius jewels to improve the effect of nodes within their radius. The Trial of the Chaos God is another type of Ascension Trial which is first encountered in Act 3. This one is the successor to PoE1's Ultimatum mechanic, but it's a bit different as it's no longer an in-map mechanic. This trial will provide further progression towards a character's ascendancy, and once again it will scale into endgame as another endgame grind. Entry into the Trial of the Chaos God requires an inscribed ultimatum token from the Trial Master. Before entering each room, you'll be shown a reward, but to enter you'll need to choose from one of 3 downside modifiers. These modifiers are not removed upon room completion and instead stack up each time, increasing the difficulty as you progress. At the end of each room, you can choose to take your rewards or select another downside and continue to move forward. Bosses can also be encountered in the Trial of the Chaos God, such as the Vulture of Chaos. Soul Cores are an exclusive reward from the Trial of the Chaos God. Corrupting items can have the outcome of adding a socket, and you can place Soul Cores in these sockets to provide additional modifiers based on the item type. In the endgame version of this mechanic, the Trial Master is the pinnacle boss. Similar to PoE1, the map device is used to access PoE2's core endgame, mapping. The world map can be scrolled infinitely in any direction, but to travel to a map it must be connected to the starting point, so you need to progress outwards, and you can only travel to each map once. You'll find a variety of different mechanics on the world map, and each map will provide a list of its contents, such as whether or not it will contain a map boss, or if it contains league mechanics like Breach or Expedition. There are also a bunch of other things to find, like roving merchants, towers, and even cities. Towers are structures that can be modified with tablets, which provide a radius effect to all surrounding maps, adding content such as breaches. These tablets can be found in their specific mechanics. To go to a map, you need to place a waystone in the map device, and waystones have tiers. This is essentially map tiers from PoE1. Waystones can be rolled with modifiers. Prefixes are upsides, while suffixes are downsides. Core mapping will have an atlas tree with up to 30 points to be spent, and each league mechanic has its own mini atlas tree. An Uber Pinnacle boss is accessible via the monolith on the world map. You need to kill 3 surrounding Uber Act bosses for their keys to enter. Now, aside from the 2 Ascension trials previously mentioned, there will be a bunch of other additional endgame grinds, and these are all in-map mechanics. Breach is one of those endgame grinds. Opening a breach in a map will spawn monsters, and the faster you can kill those monsters, the longer you'll have in the breach. An exclusive reward of Breach is Catalysts, which apply quality to jewellery, improving the magnitude of specific modifier types. Breach rings can also be found, which have the special implicit maximum quality is 50%, allowing the catalyst quality to scale relevant modifiers even further. You'll also find breach splinters. 300 splinters will assemble into a breach stone, which allows you to access the pinnacle boss of this endgame grind, Zesht, We Who Are One. Defeating this boss will increase the difficulty of this entire mechanic and provide Atlas tree points for the breach tree, which you can spend to specialise this endgame grind. Expedition is another endgame grind which is seemingly unchanged from PoE 1. Players will place explosives to unearth monsters, and remnants can be exploded to increase the difficulty whilst improving the rewards. Completing encounters will reward currency that can be spent at special expedition vendors, such as ROG, who will help you craft items. Logbooks can be found from expedition encounters, which are essentially full maps covered in a giant expedition encounter with more explosives to plant. Completing the most difficult expedition encounters, which include bosses, will reward expedition tree points to spend and specialise the content. Another endgame grind is Ritual, which is very similar to its PoE 1 implementation. In maps, you'll find ritual altars. Interacting with an altar will spawn monsters that were killed in the ritual circle, but each previous ritual altar completion will also add its monsters to the pool, increasing the difficulty of each subsequent altar. Killing monsters rewards tribute, a currency that can be spent to choose rewards, known as favours, from a selection screen upon interacting with a completed altar. Omens are a reward that can only be obtained from ritual encounters. These are powerful crafting tools in PoE 2. The King in the Mists is the pinnacle boss of this mechanic, and defeating him will reward ritual tree points to spend and increase the difficulty of this mechanic. Delirium is another returning mechanic from PoE 1 and another in-map endgame grind for PoE 2. Upon entering a map with Delirium present, you'll find a mirror that can be walked through to add a mist across the map. The mist will modify and add new monsters. During Delirium encounters, you'll be able to find distilled emotions, which are essentially like blight oils from PoE 1. They'll allow you to add a passive tree notable to your amulet, now known as Instilling, and you'll also be able to use them on maps to add more juice. And that's it, a brief overview of Path of Exile 2's endgame systems for its early access launch. Thanks for watching this video, and as always, stay tuned and stay safe.